Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV, and it's time for an update. We want to talk to Tarachi Gold, and Cameron Tymstra is here with us, the CEO. Hi to Canada. How are you doing?
I'm well, Jochen. How are you?
Perfect. Thanks. All good. Too much snow here, but it's fine. Tarachi Gold. So there was a lot going on. Then, of course, on the other hand, it was a little bit quiet. I think you were delayed with some items, which I think every mining company is facing these days. But what catched my interest is that you had quite positive metallurgy tests, and even without grinding in 12 hours leaching, you got out 83% of the gold. There's a bit room for improvement, right?
That's right. We were pretty excited to see those really positive results come out of the metallurgical test work for our Magistral project in Durango, Mexico. As you said, we've had experienced some delays like a lot of companies have, particularly in the laboratory. So we had earlier this year drilled out our tailings basin to do a resource estimate there. We had about 3 months of delays getting those assays back and further delays getting the actual metallurgical test work back. All that finally came back in October. Those are the sort of pieces of data that Ausenco was waiting for before they could actually start working on and completing the rest of our preliminary economic assessment. But now that we have that data in hand, especially that metallurgy data, we can finally start pushing that PEA forward, and we expect to have that any day now.
Oh, okay, super. So maybe in the next 2-3 weeks, we hear some good news?
Potentially even sooner, but yeah, we're certainly looking forward to having that pretty soon.
Okay, wow, that would be super, fantastic. Look forward to that because I'm a shareholder of the company. I should say that also for disclaimer reasons. Okay, processing plant. What is the status there? Where do you see the costs? I know this is also an item of the PEA, of course, but maybe you can say something. What is the shape of the processing plant? How does it look like by now?
Sure. So the facility that we acquired earlier this year is a cyanide leaching facility that uses the Merrill-Crowe process to precipitate out gold and silver, so it doesn't use copper. And the reason why that process was installed there was due to the presence of some copper that's actually in the material as well, which typically has a tendency to overload the carbon in carbon systems. And so one of the things that we're looking at doing in terms of modifications to the existing facility right now is possibly installing a small SART plant. And what that will allow us to do is actually remove the copper from that cyanide solution and actually produce a saleable copper byproduct that we can sell as well to bring in some additional revenue. The other benefit of that SART facility, which stands for sulfidification, acidification, recycling, and thickening, it actually will help us reduce and recycle the amount of cyanide we use by about 70 to 80%, which is also going to provide us with some pretty significant operating cost savings as well, since we're reprocessing tailings, so it's much more of a metallurgy and processing operation than it is a traditional mining operation. So most of our costs are going to be contained actually in the plant facility itself for reagents and things like that. So, if we can bring down one of our most significant costs by 70 to 80%, we think that's really going to help the project economics.
Yeah, I think it's not only the project economics. I think for the environment, it's also very important, right?
Exactly.
Because to reuse resources is always positive.
Absolutely, especially this day and age when people are taking a much closer look at the ESG qualities of a project. That's one of the other things we really like about the Magistral operation is when you look at a conventional mining operation, most of the energy input required and most of the carbon output comes from the drilling and the blasting, the hauling and stripping away of waste material, the hauling of ore out of the pit or out of the mine, and then the crushing and the grinding. And so when you look at our processing facility, all those activities are pretty much sunk costs. We have to move the material only a few hundred meters to get it to the plant. We don't have to do any crushing. And although we have a ball mill on site, our metallurgical results kind of indicated we won't likely actually be using the ball mill to reduce the particle size. So very low energy input requirements, very low fuel used as well. So we do expect to be producing gold not only for a competitive cash cost, but also very competitive in terms of the amount of sort of carbon output or overall environmental impact per ounce.
Fantastic. As you are working a tailings project, I mean, you have an average of 2 grams gold per ton. This is, I would say, almost double the size or double the amount than most of the open pit mines in the world have. That must be the hell of economic.
Yeah, it's a very rich in terms of tailings material. Like you said, when you look at most conventional open pit mines, they're mining typically 1 gram per ton or less these days. Even underground mines are often mining only a few grams per ton gold. And the fact that we're seeing sort of 80+% leachability of the material in sort of a 12 to 16 hour time period, we do expect to be producing a pretty significant amount of gold per ton of material that we bring through the mill.
Fantastic. Have you drilled now the tailings dam enough that you are sure that everything is in good standing?
Yeah, we drilled, I believe it was 37 holes earlier this year, and the average grade from those samples was about 2 grams per ton, which was right in line with the historic drilling that was conducted on the same tailings facility a number of years ago, and the historic resource estimates that are there. So the official resource grade for the 43101 estimate will also be included in the PEA. So as part of that, we're doing an actual proper resource estimate as well that's updated. So that will kind of show the estimated resource grade and the tonnage that we see in there. And when you're mining tailings, you don't have to worry so much about things like dilution that you would typically get, because we'll basically just be scraping these tailings off the ground right down to the natural ground level, pretty much throwing everything into the mill. So we do expect to see some pretty good mining recoveries as well.
Super, perfect. And what would be then the game plan afterwards? I mean, this tailings would last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years. Maybe we will see in your PEA. But do you want to look then for fresh ore, or what is the game plan?
So right now, our game plan is, once we sort of start pushing Magistral into production, to begin looking for additional feed materials that will extend out the life of the operation. Based on the historic resource estimates and our expectation of feeding about 1,000 tons per day, we see sort of a 3 to 3.5 year mine life just from those tailings. But we do know there are other tailings materials in their neighborhood, some just a few kilometers away, some more about 20 kilometers away. So we will be looking at potentially acquiring those materials if the metallurgy does, prove to be appropriate for our facility. But certainly the long game here would be to pursue, potentially hard rock assets as well in this area. If you look at the mining history in the region, the main mines that operated that actually produced these tailings closed down in roughly the 1960s, but they were producing, ore of the grade of sort of 10 to 12 grams per ton, plus 1% copper. There's been no real modern exploration conducted in those areas in the last 60 years or so. So we certainly see some potential to, make some future acquisitions and eventually turn Magistral into a longer-term hard rock operation as well.
Okay, super. Cameron, thank you very much. It was a good update. I have a good feeling that we speak quite soon, because when you have the PEA, we need to go into detail.
Of course, we will do that.
Super. Thank you very much. All the best. Thanks,
Thank
Cameron.
you, Jakob.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Cameron Tymstra, the CEO of Tarachi Gold. You heard it, the PEA is in preparation, and I really look forward to that too, as you guys are watching that. And yeah, still, things are looking good, running smoothly. 2 grams gold per ton for a tailings operation plus copper. That is fantastic. And as said, with the metallurgy, even simple without grinding, 12 hours leaching, 83% recovery of the gold. That is fantastic. And yeah, we look forward to the PEA, which should be released hopefully next 2-3 weeks, maybe in a shorter time frame. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.